All right, you guys, we are going to read another chapter in Story Thieves. I hope you're liking the book. Chapter 13. Boring, shouted Owen into the white blankness all around him. This is so boring. Why can't something just happen already? He sighed and tried to bang his head against the non existent wall behind him. Nothing existed in this place, apparently. Not walls, not hunger, not time, and definitely not entertainment. Or Dr. Variety, for that matter. Which was weird. Shouldn't he have been here too? Had he broken out? And if so, why hadn't he left some sort of instructions so Owen could do the same thing? Being evil was one thing, but that was just inconsiderate. Still boring, he shouted to no one. Bethany, where are you? If you're off having fun with Kell and the Magister without me, I'm never going to forgive you. Bethany having fun? Okay, that wasn't likely. But given that she hadn't come back yet, she had to be doing something exciting with them, assuming she was okay. Since they'd basically kidnapped her, the Magister and Kell, after she'd been knocked out. Owen frowned, suddenly worried. What if they stole her power or banished her to a horrible dimension of just audiobooks or something? Or worse, what if they forced her to jump into stories to talk to all the cool characters? That'd make her crazy. Nah, she had to be okay. The girl could grab aliens from Mars out of books if she had to. What was going to stop her? An old man and his awesome, incredibly cool teenage apprentice? No way. She was fine. She had to be. When Bethany rudely didn't respond or come get him out of this nowhere non-prison he'd been trapped in, Owen banged his head a few more times, then tried walking around again. The problem with walking into nothingness is that you honestly have no idea if you were getting anywhere. For all he knew, he'd walked 10 miles and found just as much boring as the spot he'd left. He collapsed from boredom against the ground and conveniently found another wall to bang his head against. Or the same one. Maybe the ground was just moving underneath his feet like a treadmill. Would he grow old here? Until he looked like the Magister with a huge beard? Would his fingernails grow like that guy in Guinness World Records? Could Bethany jump into that book and hang out with Fingernail Guy? That'd be weird. Was he missing his birthday? Had he already missed it? For all Owen knew, he'd been sitting here for years, thinking of the presents he'd missed, birthdays and Christmas. Let me out of here, he shouted. Nobody answered. It was time to give up. There was nothing else to do, literally. There he was, trapped in a book, but outside the book. And wait a second. If he was really still in the book somehow, maybe he could just jump forward in the story, like books did when the chapter ended. It'd be like fast forwarding time, chapter after chapter, until Bethany came back to find him. That was brilliant. Except, how did you end a chapter? Owen thought back to all the books he knew and what he could remember about the end of chapters. Most of them seemed to stop on some kind of ironic one liner or a cliffhanger. Cliffhangers would be a bit tough in here, with no cliffs to hang off of, but maybe he could trick the book into chaptering by saying something horribly ironic and then waiting for it to surprise happen. Now would be a horrible time for someone to show up out of nowhere to come rescue me, he said, then paused to see if it worked. Time didn't jump forward, and no one showed up out of nowhere to rescue him. This may not have been a good idea, as he'd hoped. You know, that'd be funny if Dr. Variety came back and kidnapped me. Who'd expect that? Nothing. I'd really hate it if I fell asleep and turned out this was all a dream. Nope. This seems like the most secure prison ever. No one could break in here. Was that a sound? Nope. Nope, it wasn't. Owen growled in frustration, then just started screaming various things. Chapter 12, Chapter 32, Chapter 75, The Boy Who Was Rescued from the Boring Prison. Nothing happened. If anyone ever reads this, he said to no one, I hope they find out just how dumb it was to jump into a book. Apparently, you just get thrown into jail and left to rot. Don't do it. Let that be a lesson. At least my life will have meant something. He paused to see if that had done anything. But nope. Seriously, can nobody hear me? He shouted. I can hear you, said someone. Out of nowhere stepped a person with no features, just a blank face and body, like an undressed mannequin. And you can call me nobody, the creepy, no-face person said. Owen blinked. Now that would be the perfect place for a new chap. All right, guys, that's the end of this chapter.